stranded in space on a ship crashing into the atmosphere of an unknown planet, Emile Spencer knew that the only way to survive would be by his own wits and guile. He vowed that somehow he would find and slay the titanic cosmic beast that put him in this predicament, VY572. With every installment, we follow Emile's explorations and discoveries on this journey of revenge against all odds. I'm Midnight Jester, and this is the Left Behind Starforge series.
Well, I guess it's about that time. We better continue this story. Though in order to do that first, we're going to have to review what happened last time, because after 2 sessions ago, the very end of it, we had the giant electrical burst that was the beginning of Emile and Cypher and Valkyrie and Ironsides trying to race to the Beowulf first. We established that this caused quite a fire on the profit margin. There were problems all over the place. In running away, Emile and that whole group tried to lose the pursuing Vault Hunters by heading directly into the smokiest areas of the ship, having secured at least a breather that they could pass around to sit there and hide in the smoke, try and lose them. Unfortunately, this led to its own manner of complications. Emile and Cypher got split from Valkyrie and Ironsides due to a collapsing ceiling. I'm not going to go over every last beat of it, but ultimately Emile and Cypher wound up being crushed beneath a door wielded by the crazed Karthik Kwan, who is going nuts with all this fire. Any semblance of humanity is gone right now. Karthik crushed them beneath the door and ran off out of there. They went unconscious, only to be rescued by Valkyrie, brought to a room where, in the thought that they could maybe shore themselves up and get in contact with the Beowulf to get them to not pick up the other Vault Hunters, they found out that it was already too late. Vert's party had indeed not only already gotten to the Beowulf, but had already taken over and was on his way back out of there, stranding all of them on Ocelot. Before they had too much time to really dwell on that, though, there were some newcomers to the room. The masked figure who had previously been seen intimidating all of the prisoners came into the room with a party of people with guns that were trained on everybody. It turned into a bit of a negotiation where Emile used the leverage that he had, saying that he was the only way they were going to get back the missing Imperium fighters. He knew where they were left. They didn't. He made a deal that he would trade back those ships in order for all of them to get on out of here safely and have the Beowulf back. A wrinkle was added to that, though. The anonymous figure in the room did agree, but stipulated that in order for this all to work, Emile was also going to have to come along with him to speak with the High Chancellor in the thick of the Imperium. The reason being, they were going to have to get to the bottom of the fact that Emile Spencer looks absolutely identical to the man underneath all of those anonymizing robes. We left off with that moment, the recognition that they look like the same person. I mean, subtle differences, like they may not have all the same scars or cuts or anything like that. Like, there may be little things like that that are different, but they share a face and general build and everything like that. And before we continue that scene, I do want to set a vignette here, partly because our momentum is still all the way down at +1, and I would love to take care of that. We've really not had a chance to recover. We've been riding on fumes for a little while here. Momentum at 1, health at 0, spirit 1, supply 0, integrity of the Beowulf at 0, EMP at 0. We have been burning the candle at both ends and desperately need a chance to legitimately rest. So I want to set a vignette here to at least help that out a little bit. And I was thinking, because we also knew from last time that Newton's Folly, the other warship that came along in this battle, Newton's Folly got disabled. And it's just been sitting there. I want to set a scene there to find out a little bit about, what's going on that ship while they're just sitting ducks. And so we get the beginnings of a scene where we see it's like an ant pile once you've kicked it over, where there's just, scurrying Vault Hunter members of the ship everywhere, doing everything they can to try and, put systems back together, get things back online, doing all the diagnostics of what the problems are. We see, sparks from welders and stuff as people are just trying to get shit fixed. It's a chaos of that, and we kind of pan over it all just happening and eventually find ourselves with Captain Bash, who is speaking with a Vault Hunter associate who's we've never specifically met or named before. But considering they're getting a little bit of extra focus right now, I'm going to quickly roll a call sign for them. This is Dancer. For some reason I feel like we've maybe had that name before, but if so, it wasn't prominent enough to remember, so whatever. This is Dancer. Bash and Dancer are doing a kind of like a West Wing shot where they're walking down a corridor side by side while we see all this kind of frantic stuff happening in the background. And Dancer is giving an update to Captain Bash. Dancer clearly has some of this info about like what's offline and everything, and is giving a lot of techno speak about what the problems are and a status report on like when they can expect it to be back online is certainly what Bash is calling for. Just get to the meat of it. How long until we can get back online? And Dancer says, no, that's the real problem we're having, is that we can't really say for certain when that's going to be. I mean, we're still even trying to figure out what exactly is causing the engine malfunction. I mean, it could be any number of things. All right, just fine. Suffice it to say, it's not looking great then. You're just kind of, all that shit going on back there, you're just kind of making reasonable guesses then? Yeah, you might say something like that. Yeah, we're at least trying to repair the ship as best as possible in the meantime, but that's more structural than anything. So we're at their mercy. I don't think Dancer even responds to that, just kind of waiting for Bash to talk it out. Doesn't want to admit that. Look here. If they haven't killed us yet, it's because they plan on taking us prisoner as well. I mean, I'm thinking it over, and that's the only thing that makes sense, right? Dancer just kind of nods politely. They're going to take us prisoner, and we know what they were doing with the last prisoners. I mean, they were going to take them over to Archer Colony and wipe their goddamn minds. I'm not in for that. Are you? I'd certainly rather it not be the case, no. That's not what I want. Yeah, me neither. But it's not looking like we're going to be able to avoid it at this point. We're getting taken prisoner. I'm not going to let that happen. All these resources you're putting towards these diagnostics, they're not leading anywhere fast enough. They're going to take us over unless we do something drastic. So, Bash leans in a little bit closer and more conspiratorially and says, I need you to take on a more secret project. While you're at the computer doing all that bullshit, I need you to actually start overloading the core. If I'm going to lose myself, it's not going to be on Archer Colony. It's going to be taking them out with me. Overload the core, get this thing ready to blow. And keep it to yourself. I don't need anybody getting second thoughts on their loyalties here. And Dancer, clearly kind of gulping a little bit, but gives a nod and says, I can get it done, Captain. And then raises his hand for a salute and says, it's been an honor serving somebody as committed to the cause as you are. Get it done. And they part ways. So we're going to take the +1 momentum there, and now we know that, at least narratively, I don't know that I'm going to put a specific clock on this or anything, but we know that if necessary for something very drastic to happen one way or the other, it could be related to the core of Newton's Folly finally blowing, and probably going to make quite a radius after that. So that's all kind of ticking away in the background, this Chekhov's bomb kind of thing. And we know we've had such a good history with things that explode in this game. That's always gone well for us. Anyhow, back to the scene at hand with Emile and, well, certainly at least another person who looks exactly like Emile, and Cypher and Valkyrie and Ironsides and all the other people in the Imperium who are standing around that room having recently finished up this deal that they made. But now that the hood has come off and we've seen the identical features, nobody is quite sure what to say next. I think it's Cypher who breaks the ice and turns to our Emile and says, Emile, I don't understand. What's going on here? Why? Making clear gestures, and Emile just says, I don't know either. He's pinching between his eyes, this doesn't make any kind of sense. What's going on here? What she said. And this robed figure says, now, without wearing the vocoder inside the hood, says, I do have something of an idea of what's going on, but frankly, not willing to speak to it right now. That seems like a conversation more befitting the two of us and the High Chancellor alone. Don't worry. We'll discuss it all when we get there. For now, we need to capture that Beowulf like we talked about. We'll capture it, house it inside the hangar, and then all of us can go fly to the High Chancellor. Once we finish that, you'll point us to where their ships are, and then you can have your Beowulf back and go about whatever it is you plan on doing. And Emile raises his hand to that and says, hold on a minute, that wasn't the deal we made. We never said that it was going to be that long, that I would have to do all the Chancellor stuff first. You said after the trade we would go to the Chancellor. And the robed Emile says, that was what I said at the time, yes. However, and he holds his own hand up towards Emile, in the general direction of Emile's face, and says, I've sensed a little bit too much conflict inside you since then. And I know that I'll do and say anything to save my skin. So'll you. So I'm altering that deal. Now it's that you get to come along with me and not spend the whole ride in the incinerator. Don't worry, you'll still get what you want in the end. It's just going to take a little bit longer before you can be at the controls of your own destiny. I don't trust you to do it now. But, beyond that, you will not be treated as a prisoner. You have your way of the ship. Make yourself comfortable. And then the other Emile leads all the other Imperium members out of the room. And now it's just the four of Emile, Ironsides, Valkyrie, and Cypher in there. And Emile waits for enough distance to clear where they're clearly, they're actually all alone. And then just goes, God damn it. And Cypher, as we established last time, comes up closer to Emile and says, I just want to be perfectly clear here. This deal that you made with him, I mean, the conflict you're feeling, you're planning on betraying him, right? You're not actually going to go through, you're not going to let them have their ships back, right? You're not going to just work with the Imperium? No, I wasn't, I hadn't planned on, tell me so that I believe you. You're not working with the Imperium, right? Because I gotta tell you, right now it's looking a lot like you're gonna give all of us back to be prisoners just to save your own skin. Look, I don't know what's next, okay? I don't. I never do. All right, that's the great secret that I don't even know how secret it is. I don't have a plan. All I'm trying to do is just trying to survive the moment long enough to get to the next moment, and then I can try to survive that one. And there's no grander plan to it all. I did what I needed to do in that moment, which was make a deal, save our skins to not get gunned down. No. Okay, all things being equal, I don't want to work with the Imperium. They seem like assholes. I guess that makes me an asshole. It seems like I'm one of them already. I don't... Lord, Cypher, I'm at my wit's end right now. I'm really fraying here. I don't have a lot left. I have been running myself ragged for weeks, and it's not going all that well. And I don't know what's next. Clearly we're about to go capture the Beowulf. A ship full of people that doesn't want us to be alive either. I mean, what do we do? What should we do? I don't know. And also, what was the deal with all the green gas? Did you see it? Oh my God, there's just so much. I don't know. I don't have a plan. And it's at that moment that Ironsides is the one to actually raise a robotic hand and say, I might have something to contribute to that. It is not complete, but it is a component. And we cannot make a plan until we have an inventory of all that we have to work with. So add this to the list. Do you recall when all aboard Newton's Folly and the Beowulf were enthralled by a sound emanating from a wormhole? Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. And do you recall how we were able to escape? Emile's eyes start lighting up as he's putting some of the pieces together that Ironsides is laying out for him, and goes, I do. You countered the noise. You're suggesting... Oh, that's very clever. And Cypher and Valkyrie, who are not there, are saying, What are you talking about? What's the plan? And Emile says, there's an audio form out there that is so captivating, so enthralling, for whatever reason, that any who hear it, they can't do anything but... They can't do anything. All they know is they want to pursue that sound. They're just captivated by it. And Ironsides had a way to counteract that noise by having a reverse of the waveform, noise canceling it. But in order to cancel the noise, Ironsides basically had to be able to play the noise himself. You know, the only difference is that the polarity was reversed. But if there's no waveform that's being canceled out by an inverted polarity, then that's just the noise. It's the same thing. It should work the same anyway. That is my theory. So, okay. So that's at least something. We have a way to keep occupied anybody who's listening to that, but we're going to need to gather them all in one place. I don't understand. It sounds like you're saying that, what are we taking this ship over? And to that, Emile just says, wait, hold on, just give me a moment, okay? Let me percolate on it. I've got something here. And here's what I'm going to do as far as this goes. Like, Emile starts pacing around the room, and he's like muttering to himself and like saying things that we can't really hear or understand. But this is him, like, he's putting together a plan. He's making preparations, trying to gain leverage. He is trying to come up with a solid plan using the components that he knows he has here. And so I'm actually going to do this in a couple of parts here. The first, it's been a long time since we've done this, but we are going to secure an advantage, but in the past. We mentioned how technically there's nothing that says you have to do this in the present. We can do this as a flashback. And I want to establish through secure an advantage an attempt to gain leverage by establishing firmly that Emile did indeed install his ability to remote control a ship onto the Beowulf itself. It seems reasonable. We know that he put it in on the various fighters that were in, like, the Beowulf's fleet. But I want to establish a date on the Beowulf itself. And so this is going to be a wits move. This is definitely involving expertise and all that. It's going to be a tech move. This is about optimizing or configuring an electronic system. So yeah, this is going to be a wits with a +1 where we can re-roll if we need to for a +2, if it's a weak hit. So here we go. Let's see. Can we firmly establish that he did make that happen? Okay, so I rolled a 6 on my die. And this is with wits. That gives me a +3. And I have a +1 on that. That's a total of a 10. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, you know what else was a 10? Both the other dice. So we are going to start this off with another double 10 miss with a match. That was one of the last things we did last time. Was a double 10 miss with a match, secure an advantage, and we're going to do it again this time. So as Emile is about to explain how he once put in this program to be able to control the ship from afar, he bends over and starts coughing a little bit. And a little bit turns into a lot. And Cypher steps up to say, like, are you okay? And we see, as we get kind of a close-up of his face bent over, he's coughing out a little bit of green gas, sublimating from inside of him. It's the first little signs that apparently all of his interaction with both Karthik Kwan and the other robed Emile, he's caught whatever they have. This is a potentially fatal complication. As we have observed, at best right now, this is something that can be held at bay. He is going to be slowly broken apart by this horrible malady, breaking and reforming constantly until it's a question of if he really is even still actually alive anymore. And during this moment, as Emile realizes this, as he starts feeling what's happening to his body and gets an intuitive understanding of it, his mind thinks back to the intuitive understanding that he got when the stars were changed by the Star Child to say that he would not survive his quest against VY572. And perhaps this is the moment changed by the fate of those stars, that he did catch this infection. Now, I think because this was secure and advantage, the stakes of what we were trying to do were basically like entirely in control. Like there's only so bad this can get, even on a double 10 miss with a match, which this was. And so I think that narrative consequence that now Emile, he's basically constantly dying. And if he does not do something about this, like may indeed fully die. Like if he doesn't have the opportunity to just gorge himself with food long enough, which is going to really eat into his supply, he could just die. Or if he finds a way to cure this somehow. But this being this kind of fatal ticking clock in the background, in fact, we should probably make a literal clock on that. I think that'll be enough impact from that double 10 complication. So yeah, let's make a campaign clock now. This one will be reasonably long. I'm going to put it at 8 segments. And right now we filled in the first one. So this clock represents Emile's physical degeneration. Any number of things will have a chance to fill that up, and if that ever does make it all the way full, like, Emile will just die. Now, we do have the fated asset, so technically, we can't really die when we face death until we fulfill this background vow. It won't be our time. Like, the specific wording is, when you face death or face desolation while your background vow is unfulfilled, it is not yet your time. Instead of rolling, you may take an automatic strong hit. If you do, this asset counts as an impact, and you no longer have this protection until you next reach a milestone on the background vow. So at least once, this will make sure, like, even if that fills all the way, we can't actually die from it, but we need to keep pursuing the background vow, otherwise, like, that will stop protecting us, and that will kill us someday. So, Emile basically has a terminal illness now, and it's constantly going to be progressing, and importantly, I think this is the moment Emile needs to try and realize, like, he saw that coming out of the other Emile's mouth. This might be contagious. And of course, there are other people in the room here that could be susceptible to it. So rather than do that as gather information, I'm going to do this as secure an advantage again. He is assessing the situation. He's bent down now. He's recognizing that Cypher is coming up to try and tend to him. He's putting together these pieces as quickly as he can to realize, like, oh shit, no, you need to get away from me. So there's going to be a wits roll as he tries to just realize what are the potential problems with all this. So this is just wits. We don't have anything that can add to this. Nothing relevant. So let's do it and hope it goes well. Okay, we get a weak hit, which means we can either have 2 momentum or get a 1 on the next move that isn't a progress move. I'd love to build up the momentum here. And the ticking clock does kind of add to momentum anyway. So we're up to 4 momentum. That also makes sense because this isn't really in service of any one particular move. It just means, because it's not a strong hit, Emile, he gets more frantic about it and may not communicate this very nicely or well, but he's going to just, like, scrabble back into a corner of the room away from Cypher and Valkyrie as best he can. Just be like, you have to get away. The cough, you can catch it. Just stay away from me. I've got a plan. I'm going to come up with something. I don't know. Be ready. That's all I've got for you. Just stay away from me. And Valkyrie takes the breather that she has and puts it into Cypher's mouth. And then she says, that'll keep her safe. The 3 of you work something out. I'll be ready for whatever happens. And Valkyrie leaves the room. So now it's Emile and Cypher and Ironsides trying to put together this plan. Now, when we tried to establish the Beowulf actually having the program on there, we failed or our assumptions betrayed us. And so I think what that is, the assumption was, yes, we did put that program on there, but clearly it's been turned back off. It was found out and disabled. Whoever is in control of the Beowulf right now, like, when Emile tries to connect to it, he finds that, like, there's no response. Somebody has found it and shut it down. He did do it, but it's not currently helpful. I think somehow he's able to figure that out in the moment. Like, maybe a program on his comlink. Well, he wouldn't be able to just send commands to it from his comlink. He needs something that's much more just like we send it through broadcast radio signals that are a little bit more like tight beam and specifically targeted. Like, his comlink can't do that. But it might at least be able to say, like, connection offline or something like that. There's some indication that it would not be possible, that it's not running over there. Maybe it's just kind of like a status thing he can pull up from the Beowulf because it is his ship and he's got some amount still set up. So he knows he can't do that. But in addition, he is a fucking hacker. And so maybe if he finds a station where they could send that kind of tight beam communication, he might be able to manipulate the signal in order to break those encryptions and can basically overcome them, get the program back on, and still do it. Because whoever did that, just like, they're not going to be as talented as Emile is at keeping him out. They're not as good at counter hacking, basically. Anyway, the ship starts taking off. They're lifting up, they're heading into orbit. They're going to start pursuing after the Beowulf, which is already being done by the other two ships as well. All right, like the ones in orbit, like Beowulf is having some troubles right now. It's being pursued. They're hoping to be able to get out of there in time, but they may not be able to. Emile, having put together an idea in his head, points to Ironsides and says, "Okay, you start getting that program ready. I need it to be triggerable in a moment. We're definitely going to be using that to be able to enthrall them. Now, I need us to not be enthralled in the process, so I'm going to start working on anything that we can use to just block out our ears. And you," points to Cypher, "while I'm doing that, I need you to find their radio room. Something we can use to send a tight beam over to the Beowulf. If I can establish communications with them, we might be able to make this work. Now, there's not a lot of time, so come on, everybody get going." And Cypher hustles out of the room. Emile is going to start looking around the ship in general and finding, like, he's going to start cobbling together the ad hoc tool or device he's making. It's just going to be really good earplugs, basically. Something that he can have at the ready for himself and Valkyrie and Cypher that they can pop in for the moment so that they will not be enthralled by the sound. So let's do it. Let's secure an advantage to make this ad hoc device. This is going to be with wits. And you know the rules on how this works. We'll be able to use it to get a +1 on something when the moment happens. And that moment would be facing danger against the noise if Ironsides makes it. So anyway, secure an advantage with wits. Also, we do get a +1 on this because we are trying to craft equipment or technology. So we get a +1 and +1 momentum on a hit from our gearhead. And so we get... Okay, it's a good thing we had that +1 because that means now this is a weak hit instead of just a full-on miss that it would have been. So we'd get 1 momentum on this, bringing us up to 5. It is also just a weak hit on secure an advantage, technically, which means we can either take 2 momentum or a +1 on our next move. I'm going to ride it to just bring the momentum back, or we're all the way up to 7 now. So Emile has, it's really ad hoc. These things are not going to last very long. It basically is just things of the right size that can be shoved into your ears that are spongy. It's just something that's been repurposed. It's like he, wrapped up a bunch of paper in tape or something, and just anything you could shove in your ears of the right size. He makes enough of them for all of them, gets those ready. Now, I think the fact that it's a weak hit and not a strong hit is just really indicative of how crappy looking and hastily put together these really are. But he pockets them, has them all ready. Eventually, he gets word from Cypher about where the radio room is, so this is going to be his opportunity to try and counter hack. He's going to try and take over the Beowulf. As we're now at this point, we are in pursuit behind it. The Beowulf, it wants to be able to jump away, but it's getting too much laser fire that it's trying to dodge from the other ships at this point. So it's not able to get away just yet. This is going to be a face danger with wits, and we're using our tech asset and everything. We are trying to hack our way into the Beowulf via a back door that's basically already there. But using a tight beam communication and the program that exists there, we're going to try and undo the protections that are locking out that program to re-enable it and then be able to control the ship. So we get a +1 from our tech asset, and on a weak hit, we could press our luck. Let's hope this doesn't turn out like last time we tried to make a tech move. Now the danger here, I think, the reason why it's face danger, not just secure an advantage. For one, his hacking could be figured out. Certainly his hacking could be noticed by somebody on the Beowulf, and they could shut it down in a way that would make it all the more permanently that's just not a viable option. But I think the more important danger here is that sending out all of these signals could be noticed by the Imperium. If they monitor what's going on, they could find out hey, who's sending what information to the Beowulf? He's being pretty clandestine with it. And to be clear, I think the reason why he has such an opportunity to even do this is that a lot of the Imperium members were killed by the prison riot. When the prisoners broke out, a lot of people died. They're pretty short-staffed, and so Emile is able to get to a room that is, if not entirely empty, almost entirely empty. Nobody's really using this radio room right now, and so he's able to kind of hook up to a computer unnoticed. Now, I'm still going to make this a wits move rather than a shadow because I think it's still going to be tricky enough to actually have the expertise to know how to do this through a tight beam communication to manipulate it so that it's actually going to alter the code and break through the program. That's still really about your smarts more than his shadow, because nobody's in the room with him or anything. Anyway, Wits with a +1, possibility to reroll if we need to, and 7 momentum. Okay, we didn't even need the +1, but we get a strong hit all on its own. We don't need to reroll anything. I'm not going to. We get an 8 versus a 6 and a 4. So we're successful. Take 1 momentum. So now we're all the way up to 8. And what this means is Emile has successfully broken through to be able to control this ship from afar. Now, here is an all-important move for part of Emile's plan. What he's trying to do here is he wants to make it look like the Beowulf has been disabled by laser fire. He's going to try and control the ship to just basically shut down its engines, make it fake like it's been disabled. This is definitely a trickery move. This is all about Shadow. He wants to do this so that they can indeed capture it without causing too much harm to the Beowulf, but also, while he is sending this signal, like while he is sending the information that makes the ship just stop moving, controlling it from afar, he is simultaneously going to be sending information that he's trying to display things on the screens of the Beowulf to silently communicate with them what his plan is. And the plan that he is going to try and communicate is keep calculating your jump coordinates. Be ready to leave at a moment's notice. Like they're going to think you're disabled. They're going to capture you. Nothing is going to happen. Be ready to jump away. And so let's indeed make that face danger move. So this is going to be a shadow move. This is definitely all about the trickery of actually convincing the Imperium that that's what's going on here. And this time we don't have anything to add to it. Actually, that's not true. This is still arguably our tech asset. We're still doing this by hacking an electronic system. That's what's allowing us to pull off this tricky plan silently. So I actually will give the +1 to that. And still the ability to reroll if we need to. Like, we're getting all the benefits of tech. So Shadow with a +1 this time. Let's see what happens. Okay, we didn't even need the +1 there. We actually got a strong hit even on Shadow. The dice were kind. This was a 6 versus a 2 and a 3. So we're successful, and we take 1 more momentum. So we are maxed out now at 9 momentum. Emile successfully makes the ship look like it's disabled via tight beam, while communicating on their screens there what the plan is. As a result of that, I'm actually going to allow myself a compel roll from afar here. This is going to be with heart. He's just bartering. He's trying to convince them to go along with this, that it's in their best interest to not fuck this up. He's going to get them out of here and just be cool about this all. It's going to work. But of course, they don't like him over there. So I don't think Emile is going to know the results of this, but remotely he's communicating this information. We're going to see whether or not this compels them. So this is a heart move. We have full momentum. Let's see what we get. Okay, we get a weak hit, so they'll do what you want or agree to your conditions, but their agreement comes with a demand or complication. Envision their counteroffer and take 1 momentum. Now, unfortunately, we can't take the momentum. Also, I should have been a little bit more specific in the persuasion. I think also implicit in Emile's message is like, we're going to be coming along with you. Like, pick us up and give us a ride. And so Emile has successfully convinced them of that, but there is a demand or complication. And I think in this case, like, Emile's not going to know it, but the complication is going to be, Emile's not going to be in charge anymore. Like, they are taking the Beowulf back from him. That's not his ship anymore. It's Vert's ship. Take it or leave it. But I mean, if Emile wants it back, he's going to have to pursue that separately from this. And again, Emile wouldn't know this, but I think also, Vert will allow him onto the ship, but he's probably not going to be riding well exactly. Like, he's going to be more or less a prisoner. Like, Vert's still going to hate him. He's still not going to treat him very well. They're going to have him locked down when he's on there. Probably going to take away his computer. Anything they can do to make sure, you can't fuck with this at all. We're in control here. But they won't just, outright kill him. Vert will go along with the plan, because he doesn't really have a lot of other choice. But anyway, that's stuff that we'll find out more later, because there's no response right now. The ship, it looks like, by all accounts, it looks disabled. And they're coming in on it. They stop firing at it, which means they don't have a lot of time here. Emile wants to scavenge up some spacesuits, something that they can wear to make the jump over to the Beowulf. Because the whole point is, if it's calculating jump coordinates, it needs to stay in its exact position, which means they can't let the profit margin fully like take it on into their hangar. Otherwise that won't work. So they're going to have to make the jump over. So Emile's going to try and we're going to make the resupply move. This isn't a wreck, ruin, or abandoned site, so I'm not going to give myself the +1 from scavenger. It's not abandoned. It's none of those things. This is just a regular place. But we are going to still get to make resupply looking for a specific item, or in this case, items really. We're looking for enough suits for all three of us. Ironsides will be okay regardless. So we're rolling wits on this as per the resupply move. We are in need of a specific item. And I think it's reasonable they'd have them on this ship. Okay. We get a strong hit with a match. Only a double 2 match, but it is a match. So first off, we're going to find the suits, which is great. We would take 1 momentum, but again, we're maxed out. We don't get that. So a double 2 match. Let's see, maybe they're extra special good or something? Like, either the suits are especially good for some reason, or... Yeah, let's just go with that. I was going to say, or he finds something else, but let's just keep it simple and moving. Keep the momentum up. We're just going to say that these aren't just any suits. They are full-on nice ones. Like, they've got the magnetic boots and everything. Maybe they even have their own little kind of jet propulsion system. It's nothing major, but, like, you can actually move around pretty well out there for a little bit. They'll be especially good at helping maintain control when doing a kind of transition between ships. These are designs that you don't have to just be on a tether or anything. Like, you're supposed to be able to go around and do, like, space welding and shit. They're good like that. So Emile is so happy, just like, this was the best version of what he was hoping to find. And nobody notices him or anything. Like, he's done this all without drawing any attention. And rather than go, like, beat by beat, moment by moment, I'm going to continue to do just, like, quick little broad strokes of what's happening. So the next kind of element of the plan, Emile is going to try and, spread the word about how Emile's going to try and get the Imperium to basically all get in the hangar in order to, like, be a boarding party and take over the Beowulf. That's at least what he's trying to convince them is going to happen. That clearly the Beowulf is not going to go without a fight, and there's a lot of people on board. If they want this to go as best as possible, they should really send everybody. Like, this is definitely... I'm going to do this as a compel move, and it's going to be with Shadow. Emile is lying to everybody, trying to swindle them into all getting in the same place to be within earshot of Ironsides when the moment comes. He's probably a lot more subtle than I just described it, but that's just, like, roughly what's happening during the talks, as the other Emile probably is boasting a little bit about how they've managed to disable the Beowulf and that it's coming along, and these are subtle nudges that our protagonist Emile is giving, and let's see how effective they are. We might well need to lean into our momentum here, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so rolling Shadow we get... Oh yeah, no, that was a miss, but we could turn it into a strong hit with our momentum. That's pretty much what I counted on. I'm going to do it. So we burn all of our momentum, bringing us down to a +1 again. It's a strong hit. They'll do what I want or agree to our conditions, unconditionally, and we take 1 momentum back, so there we go. I'm back up to 2 already. So, more broad strokes. All of the Imperium is there in the hangar ready for it. They are anticipating being a boarding party. Emile is going to try and secure an advantage here by... These are the preparations if he's making sure that all of these earplugs that he's made, he's just trying to get them passed out to all of the other members of, his people, all the other Vault Hunters. He's trying to make sure that Valkyrie and Cypher each have them. Which does suggest... This is probably also really a stealth thing. It's about doing that without being noticed. Especially now that he's been gathering everybody and they're anticipating this thing happening. Like, he needs to make sure nobody sees that he's up to something. So, we're making a Shadow secure an advantage. I sure wish that I still had momentum to back up, but we don't. So anyway, let's see. Shadow move we get. Okay, we get a weak hit. I rolled a 10 and a 1, so we're okay on that. We succeed, so we either get the momentum or a +1 on our next move. So we're already going to have the +1 of the earbuds, and we're going to have, like, Ironsides has got his thing that he's already got, like, tech asset stuff to help him out. We need to build the momentum back up. I'm going to take the 2. So, like, clearly he can do it, but, like, there's a little bit of wariness. Like, in the back of some of the people's minds, I think the other Emile is getting, like, the slightest little... He's not focused on it, but there's a slightest little thing in the back of his mind, this feeling like something is a little bit off. He can't place it to Emile exactly, but he feels like there's something isn't quite right here. But he didn't notice the actual handing out of the earbuds or anything. He's not prepared for it specifically. So all the earplugs are handed around. Basically, Emile got them over to Ironsides so that he wouldn't have to worry about infecting anybody. And Ironsides has handed them out to Ironsides got it over to Valkyrie and Cypher. And maybe that's why the robed Emile didn't get the full sense of what was going on, because like he felt something was a little bit off, but he was focused on Emile where he thought he was feeling it, and Ironsides was the one who had the earplugs, so he didn't actually see it go down. Like he missed the actual handoff. And I think in that shadow move encompassed, and it was not just handing over the earplugs, it was also Ironsides is able to communicate with them. Oh, Ironsides probably knows the sign language. I bet he's been programmed with Vault Hunter sign language. So silently, Ironsides manipulates his hands to communicate to Valkyrie and Cypher the location of the suits that Emile found. I think Emile stashed them back in the room or something. They're just somewhere not in this hangar, but they're nearby, so they'll be able to fetch them when needed. And Ironsides communicates the location of these suits just as Emile described to them. The moment comes. They're all in the hangar, they're waiting. They're about to overcome the Beowulf. It seems like this is a gap that is reasonable to jump in the suits. Emile gives the nod to everybody in the group. They're going to put in their earplugs, and Ironsides is going to make the compelling noise that draws everybody's attention over to him. He's going to hopefully enthrall them all, getting them to want nothing but to get to the source of the noise. Now, we never actually saw what happens if you can reach that noise. We know that in the case of Emile and Bash and those ships, they wanted nothing but to pursue it. So presumably, if the source of the noise is coming from Ironsides, they're going to want to just go after him. And we don't know exactly what they're going to do with that. But anyway, Ironsides is going to make this move. This is going to be face danger, but we are using, because we didn't actually have to trigger this before, we are triggering Ironsides' program to basically fulfill its purpose. So we'll have the ability to reroll any dice. This is otherwise just going to be a face danger with Shadow, because this is again about tricking them. It's pulling off this basically an ambush. So, face danger with Shadow with the ability to reroll any dice. Let's do it. Okay. As it is right now, it's a miss, but I rolled a 1 on my action die, which can only possibly get better. And one of the challenge dice was a 4, which is pretty good. I think I'm probably going to leave it at that because we got a 50-50 shot of beating that one. But I am going to reroll the 7, which was the other one. So I'm going to reroll my d6, and I'm going to reroll the d10 that came up a 7. I think I basically have to be committed to that. I can't do them one at a time. I'm committed to it, but the d6 is... Okay, we rerolled it as a 5, which is good. That means we're at least getting a weak hit here, because that'll beat the 4. Now let's reroll the d10. Okay, that rolled even higher. It's a 9. So it's a weak hit, but it's not a miss anymore, so that's great. So weak hit on a face danger, we succeed, but not without a cost. Make a suffer move -1. I think momentum makes the most sense here. We lose a moment as... it throws everything off. The noise happens, and it's probably this really weird thing to hear where Ironsides triggers the program, and at first we hear it in its natural form. When it first comes out, this just sounds like, it's like an old sitcom or something. We hear the tail end of a joke being made, like, I hope you at least got a lot of money when you had your brain removed, and then we hear like a studio audience laughing, and that studio audience laughter gets more and more distorted, and like slowed and distorted and stretched until it becomes unrecognizable as anything of human speech and just becomes the compelling noise. And it works. It draws all of the Imperium in to pay attention to Ironsides and want to go after him. And Ironsides has to start kind of like kiting them around a little bit, which is why we're losing momentum here. Ironsides keeps backpedaling and luring them away from the direction that Emile and Valkyrie and Cypher are going to need to go to get their suits on. Now, all importantly, Emile, Cypher, and Valkyrie do need to resist this as well. Now, we are going to get a +1 from our earplugs that I made, but it's not a sure thing. They may not be good enough. So this is a face danger with a I think I'm going to say with heart because it's tied to our resolve. You know, we're trying to resist the lure of this noise, and we just get the benefit of barely being able to hear it. So, this is heart with a +1. Let's see if we can pull it off. Strong hit with a double 7 match. Holy shit. I was so worried. I saw the 2 7s first, then I saw what I rolled. Obviously, in order to beat that, we did not roll a 1 on our action die, so the earplugs are still fine. So a double 7 strong hit with a match. So first off, we're successful and we take 1 momentum. So the one we just lost, we get back. They are totally able to resist it. The earplugs are good enough. And with the double 7 strong hit with a match, that is such a good strong hit with a match. I'm going to say that in the process of getting all of their spacesuits on, which is the next thing they'd be doing, Emile is going to stumble upon Vert's armor. He sees it as he's passing a room and recognizes that could well be a very handy thing to use for barter. Vert's going to want that back. In addition, I am going to say that when Newton's Folly sees that the Beowulf is being captured as well, they're going to send a tight beam over to communicate their plan, basically trying to convince the Beowulf to do the same thing that they're doing, like overload your core, blow them up, take them out with us. We don't want to go out like that. You know, Bash communicates his plan silently. The Beowulf receives it. And because the Beowulf knows that's going on, we're going to at least have a chance, assuming this all works out and we're able to get there, we're going to have a chance to stop him and save all those lives. It may not have to happen. So, everybody but Ironsides has their suits on, ready to make the jump over. Ironsides is busy right now, continuing to kite them around as they just enthralled pursue and want to just exist with it. I feel like I'm actually, when the moment comes, I'm going to roll an oracle to find out, like, have they caught up with Ironsides or not? But he is going to try and just keep them occupied. We need to face danger here to make the jump over to the Beowulf. We have our opportunity. We have 4 momentum. This is definitely going to be an edge move. We don't have any bonuses on this, but the 3 of them... Oh, I'm going to secure an advantage before we do. We're going to take the moment. I think we're all going to... It's going to be with heart. This is sociability. Emile's going to have them all hold hands. That way, like, no one person can get, like, veer off and get lost. They all make it or none of them do. Emile's in the middle. He takes Valkyrie's hand. He takes Cypher's hand. They have that moment of just like, we're going to make it out of here. That's silent. And then they all go together to try and just not lose anybody. And so I'm going to try and use that as the ability to make preparations to gain leverage on this so that we have a better shot of just all making it together and being able to hold on to each other, all that shit. So this is a heart secure an advantage. Okay, it's a weak hit. I'm glad that's just the secure an advantage. So I'm going to take the option to add a 1 to our next move because this is going to help us maintain stability and everything. So, you know, it's only a weak hit because we're not feeling great about it. We're still a little unsure about, it's always scary to do this sort of thing. Although I actually wonder if they're all holding hands, if Emile triggered his phase shifter, would it affect all of them? Could they all just pass right through the ship? I wonder. Maybe it'll come up. Anyhow, let's face danger. Edge with a +1 as they make the jump. That's a miss. We fail, or momentary success is undermined by a dire turn of events. Pay the price. Okay, so as soon as Valkyrie and Cypher activate their jets to move over, as Emile is about to, but Emile feels a tug on his collar, and it yanks him back. Valkyrie and Cypher rocket away. They break the handhold, but Emile is pulled back. It's, of course, none other than the other Emile, who at this point has fully got the hood back on and the vocoder back in. It's giving him some manner of ability to better resist this noise and, like, maintain his composure and control. He says to our Emile,
"Of course you're not to be trusted, but you're not getting away that easily."
We're going to enter the fray here. This is going to be just a quick, like, this is just a troublesome combat. This is not a big deal. He's not that well armed, and there's all the shit going. He doesn't have backup. Emile's got the mobility suit on. And we'll call him dangerous, not troublesome. He's still a potent dude, but he's trying to prevent Emile from getting out of here. our objective in this combat is going to be our Emile is trying to escape, make it away to the other ship. Now, to set the scene a little bit more, I think part of what's standing in the way and making that not just something you can immediately do, I think when he was grabbed by the back of the neck and ripped back, I think the other Emile, like, threw him backwards a little bit into the room and then, like, slammed his hand down on a control panel. It's closed the hangar doors. It's also why Valkyrie and Cypher can't just get right back in. You know, they had been open, ready to take on this new ship they were about to capture. It just had the energy barrier there that could be passed through. The metal doors are now closed. Emile is thrown back into the room and now has to face off against this other Emile. Now, everybody else in the room is captivated, and that includes Karthik Kwan, thankfully. Karthik is, lumbering after Ironsides right now, and probably is the one that we most need to worry about, just like catching up with him and just seizing Ironsides. But Emile and Emile are facing off. As Emile's down on the floor, we enter the fray. I think the most fitting one here, even though we were thrown backwards a little bit, we're still relatively close by, and the other Emile is kind of right there. I think we're in the thick of it at close quarters. By the time Emile is ready to act, this is an iron move. So I'm going to roll it. We're going to enter the fray. Let's see how this goes. Okay, it's a weak hit. So we either get the +2 momentum or we're in control, and we've discussed it before. I definitely want to be in control, especially if we're in a kind of close quarter situation. I want to get my chances while we can to just do something. So we're in control, perhaps because the other Emile is like monologuing a little bit, so we have a moment to do something. All right, what Emile wants to do, he has his like gun that could also be used as a cutting torch and switch back and forth between the two modes. He'd love to use it. He's a little too close to use it well. We need to try and gain a little bit of ground here. We need to get some space between us so that Emile can do it, buy himself some time and just shoot at this other Emile just to try and throw him off a little bit. So this is just, we're maneuvering. Is just an edge move as Emile tries to just gain a little distance. Okay, it's a weak hit. So we stay in control, and we can either mark progress, take 2 momentum, or get a 1 on our next move. I think next I'm going to try and do a strike here. So in this case, I'm going to get a 1 on the next move to try and just hopefully strike true and not have to, like, this is going to be risky. I'm hoping to not have to lose ground here. So this is one of the times where I'm not going to mark progress right now. So we're getting a +1 as Emile gets a pretty good position, quick enough to indeed, like, he kind of like rolls backwards while at the same time, like, grabbing the gun from his holster, like, all in one cool, swift move, and, like, lands backwards in a kneeling position with the gun aimed. He's in just the right place. He's got enough distance. He takes the shot. Also, just to be clear, to set the scene appropriately, that sweet move that Emile did, like, he definitely is not still holding on to Vert's huge, bulky armor. He had to drop that in the process. That's sitting on the floor. If he wants to regain that, that's going to be its own challenge. So just make that. He didn't somehow pull that off while holding on to this armor. That would be ridiculous. So let's do this strike. This is edge. We got a +1 here. Okay, good. That was almost a miss, but then one of the challenge dice rolled from a 7 down to a 3. It's a weak hit still. It's not a full-on strong hit, but that means we mark progress twice, but we expose ourselves to danger. You are in a bad spot. Unfortunately, that means like the +1 did not save us, and we could have been at 3 bits of progress had we just taken mark progress on the last one. Oh well, we didn't. We're moving along. We still get it twice, which is 4 boxes of progress, but we're in a bad spot. So we're down on the ground, and I think we do make the shot, but I think at this moment, that physical exertion, it makes Emile start, like, the sublimating effect of the gas starts building up, and he's thrown out, he loses his focus as he starts coughing again, and he coughs so violently that the earplugs that he has, they start kind of working themselves a little bit loose, and he can start hearing Ironsides' noise again. So we need to remain stalwart against fear or temptation. In this case, temptation. This is going to be a heart move, as Emile tries to just grit his teeth and ignore the sound that he can hear a little bit too hard now. You can't fully ignore it. So, making that heart move as we react under fire. Okay, it's a weak hit again, which, as we know, with React Under Fire is not good enough. We avoid the worst of the danger or overcome the obstacle, but not without a cost. We make a suffer move and stay in a bad spot. So Emile is not taken over by the noise, at least. But the -1, I'm going to take it to Emile's physical degradation. I'm going to fill in that clock a little bit more. He, when he starts violently coughing like that, part of the corner of his mouth just kind of like, the warning is going to be a little gory. It kind of like rips open a little bit. The corner, his mouth kind of widens and a flap of the skin is just like hanging down a little bit more as just his body, and it's spilling out the gas from there. And the other Emile seizes on this opportunity as Emile is distracted to just try and shoot him in return. So now we're full on just trying to dodge this blast of laser coming in as we regain our composure just quickly enough to see this is about to happen. We're about to be shot. So edge move as we try and dodge this. Oh man, so close to a strong hit, but not enough. It's another weak hit. So we dodge, we don't get blasted by him, we get out of the way, but again, we're going to make a suffer move here. I'm going to lose momentum on this, as Emile is now down on the ground, and he's like losing his moment as he has to like scrabble back up to his feet. You know, he fully threw himself prone. We're still in a bad spot. The other Emile recognizes that Emile had to try and withstand that noise and knows that if he sees the earplugs now. If he can get those out of Emile's ears, he knows there's no way Emile will be able to resist hard enough. Emile will be taken over, and then he won't have to worry about this at all. So the other Emile comes in and tries to like dive on top and start just like grappling over trying to get these earplugs out of his ears. That's at least the attempt. Emile is, again, he's not going to try and out-grapple the guy. He's again just trying to like roll out of the way and like react in time. This is another edge move as he's trying to just avoid being grappled in the first place. So, if he's not able to do this successfully, then like he's going to be in a grapple and his options are going to be quite limited. But for now, we can still do this as an edge move. We're going to try it again and hope that the dice have our back. They do not. It's a miss with a 9-9 match, in fact. Your foe gains the upper hand, the fight moves to a new location, or you encounter a new peril. You are in a bad spot and must pay the price. So, a couple of things happen here on the 9-9 match. Emile does get fully grappled, and in addition to that, he no longer has to worry about his earplugs being ripped out of his ears because the noise stops. Karthik Kwan did indeed catch up with Ironsides, sees him, and due to his just like unbridled strength, hugs Ironsides tightly enough to just break Ironsides. Ironside shuts off, the noise stops. I don't think he is beyond repair. He's not obliterated, but something is damaged in this process enough that Ironsides is down for the count, which means everybody else in the room is coming to. Emile is absolutely in a bad spot here. They're not quite ready to act yet, but soon they will be, and he is in the middle of being grappled, and he does not have that help on his side. We need to get out of this spiral quickly and get the hell out of here. So how are we going to do it? I mean, right now, we're fully grappled. I mean, I can't really justify much of anything beyond just trying to make an iron move to get out of here. Unless we can find any kind of clever way to bypass this obstacle. Which I guess we could. What if we use our phase shifter to just pass right out of the grapple? I don't think we're in control enough to... We've talked in the past how in order to move through the floor, you have to kind of like swim your way through. It's an active process. Emile's not in control enough to do that, but he might indeed be able to just get it activated, pass through the other Emile, and get back in control. I'm going to be nice enough to allow that to be plausible. So, we're using wits. It's our clever way out. So, let's do it. Let's see if maybe the dice back me up this time. Because we don't have a lot more times to... we don't have a lot more opportunities for this to go wrong. However, we're going to have to make room for one more because that was a miss. We are not able to rely on our wits today. I was a 4 versus a 5 and a 7, so we stay in a bad spot and must pay the price. I think what this means is the other Emile notices what's happening, and being in control of this situation, he rips the phase shifter off of Emile, tosses it across the room while it's starting to activate, and so it phases right through the ship and is like, it's completely lost. We don't know where it winds up. And he says,
"Oh, no, you don't. I know a phase shifter when I see one. None of your tricks."
So because the situation is worsened by losing that item, I'm not going to otherwise have him like take damage or have the rest of the people dogpile on him just yet, but that's definitely incoming. I mean, that's probably the next one of the moves. So I'm reading the react under fire rules. The prompts are technically iron is blocking or diverting with force or taking the hit, which is not what we're doing. We are still in pursuit, fleeing, dodging, getting back into position, or taking cover. So Emile is just trying to get out of here. He is trying to flee. So he's wriggling his way out with edge, trying to get out of this to hopefully just get his way over to the panel, open the doors up, and just get the hell out of here. Hopefully. So, we're making an edge move. Let's see if it can happen. Oh man, it's a weak hit. I got so happy when I saw one challenge die was a 1. The other one was a 10 though. We rolled well too. We rolled a 7, but when one of the dice is a 10, we just can't break out of it. So we overcome the worst of the danger or overcome the obstacle, but not without a cost. So we do wriggle out from under his control. We scabber away, but not without a cost. Make a suffer move -1. You stay in a bad spot. And I'm going to say Emile is starting to lose some spirit here. He thought that was his ace in the hole to be able to get out of here. Let's lose -1 spirit. So because it is 0, we do have to endure, we have to roll the endure stress. So let's see. We get to roll our heart on it at least. Ooh, against a 10 and an 8, well, we definitely miss. So it's worse than you thought. Suffer an additional -1 spirit, which we can't. Or lose momentum -2. If our spirit is 0, you must also mark shaken or traumatized or roll on the table below. So our momentum is down to 2. And we are indeed shaken. Emile is really concerned about how this is going, but he got out of the immediate danger of it. At this moment, Ironsides' head comes hurtling across the room from Karthik Kwan's head, is about to slam into him and get thrown into him pretty hard. This would be a -2 to health, probably. Emile needs to dodge out of the way, lest he get just kind of brained with this thing. So, another react under fire, desperately hoping we can regain control of the situation as Emile tries to get his way into some cover. It's again a weak hit. Again, a 10 and a 1, in fact. We overcome the worst of the danger, overcome the obstacle. We got to make another suffer move -1. So we avoid the worst of it, but clearly still get at least somewhat hit by it. The head grazes us. We're going to take -1 to health as opposed to -2. Our health is at 0, so we have to roll against that. Our momentum is down to 1 because we had to lose that. And yeah, we need to try and endure this harm. Getting a miss on that as well. So it's the same thing. We're going to suffer an additional -1, bringing our momentum down to 0. And because we are at 0, we're also wounded by this. So we have all the misfortunes right now. We are wounded, shaken, and unprepared. At best, our momentum could get up to 0, and we reset to -3. It's a bad time. It's getting really bad here. And I just can't count, no matter what I do, I can't count on the dice to get me out of this situation. So I think we're going to change this up a little bit and just pray that the dice also change themselves up. Rather than react under fire, I think we need to clash. I need to gain some amount of potential progress on this because we're not currently, like we're at a distance. We're exchanging fire right now. Emile could just fire back and like hope that he can just throw off both Karthik Kwan and the other Emile, like just shooting at them, hoping to buy himself a moment here. So we're clashing. We get to roll edge. On a strong hit, this could go very well for us. So anyway, let's clash. We start firing. Please let this be the moment it turns around. Clash with edge. And it is! Oh my god! Finally! A 7 versus a 6 and a 2. It's a strong hit. We mark progress twice. You overwhelm your foe and are in control. So Emile, rather than give in to despair, finally he buys his moment. He's on the run towards the panel, hoping he can just fucking escape. He's in fight or flight mode. It's both, really. Firing at them, They both are dodging for cover, so it buys it, like, they're on the ground now, so they're not just actively pursuing and firing at him. He gets to score some hits. I think for the first time, the other Emile is hit, like, pretty solidly, like, right in the shoulder, and suddenly there's just, like, this big burst of the gas coming out. It's just sublimating, just almost like he's made of the stuff. And he's very thrown off by that, like, trying to clutch at it. I don't think the other Emile is as aware of what's going on in that regard as ours is. And so, like, his attention is all on that. Enough of the other Imperium that are starting to come to from the noise are also kind of just more focused on dodging the blasts than firing back. So he's not being overwhelmed by them. Marking progress twice means we're up to 8 progress. It's never going to get better than this. We are in control. We have 8 progress. Emile while clashing like this, fires his way over to the control panel and is going to take decisive action by just activating the hangar doors in a way that maybe he uses a setting that just like shoves them open way faster than they even should be, that might be damaging to them. And he's going to try and just escape. Like he just does that on the run, activating the suit's jet propulsion to just fucking get out of here in the brief moment that he has. So take decisive action against 8 progress. Here we go. Okay, it's only a weak hit, a 10 and a 2, but thankfully we're in control, so that doesn't become a miss. We achieve our objective, but not without cost. Roll on the table below or choose one. If the fight continues, you're in a bad spot. I am going to, I'm going to roll on the table. Let's see what happens. Others pay the price. Someone else suffers the cost. Okay. I think what this means is, while we did get the information about what Bash's plan was to overload the core and blow up, Emile was not able to get around to give the fullness of the plan in time. He was not able to stop that from happening. So Emile gets the hangars open, blasts himself out into space, is midway through the jump over to the Beowulf when he sees in the background a massive rocking explosion that they're thankfully far enough back from that they're not being immediately hit by, but Newton's Folly is destroyed. The other ships that were nearby are at least damaged. Emile looks on in horror as he recognizes all the people that were on board that have now died, knowing there's nothing he can do about it. His despair heightens, but he knows he just has to get on the Beowulf, and unfortunately, he never had a good opportunity to get the armor back to be able to give back to Vert. So he doesn't have a gift to give over to try and make amends. He was likewise unable to get back Ironsides, which means Dash is not going to be especially pleased with him. And you know what, honestly? Before, when they were all holding hands, there was a move to get over there, and we haven't actually made that move. We've just escaped the combat. So here's what I'm going to say. I think the explosion, while it doesn't damage the Beowulf, I think the effects of it are still felt strongly enough that it, shoves it and Emile out of the way. It's kind of moving through space, tumbling around a little bit. And now Emile's going to have to not just kind of clear the distance, but actually use the jet propulsion to really catch up with it. And as for whether or not he's actually going to be able to do that and how he's even going to be received if he gets there, well, those are questions for next time. Now, in addition to all of that, as we end this session, I should note, I do think that now that Emile is off the ship with Valkyrie and Cypher and all the rest of the prisoners, they're all aboard the Beowulf, I do think that's worthy of another box of progress on Rescue the Prisoners. So at least there's that. We're up to 9 full boxes on that. That's something, but man, things are going so terribly right now. We are in desperate need of a time to just actually take it easy and rejuvenate. I need time to just stop adventuring for a bit. Emile needs to recover. It's bad. I hope we can afford that to him soon, but we're just gonna have to see where the story leads. However, where this outro is leading is the prompts. So this week, I am going to ask you to describe for me a crime. I don't know, I got crime on the mind. We're gonna go with that. And we're gonna say that this crime somehow involves the descriptor and focus of destroyed and faction. And if you need more help than that, it also involves the action and theme of gather and balance. So somehow, via gather and balance, a crime regarding destroyed faction is going to happen. So tell me, what is the crime involving gather balance in order to acquire destroyed faction? Let me know. Send me your ideas. The email is always starforgedpod@gmail.com. And I am likewise available via the thread that we have ongoing on the Ironsworn/Starforged Discord. You know the drill. You know how much I like hearing from you. You don't need to hear it again. Or maybe you do. I don't know. I'm going to say it again every single time. You know what else I'm going to say every single time? Play me out, music.